Hello, welcome to another video on solving questions or challenges on HackerRank. So this challenge is about comparing the triplets. That's the name of the challenge, but it's mainly about comparing arrays. Okay, so the problem is saying that Alice and Bob each created one problem for HackerRank, and then the reviewer rates two challenges, awarding points on a scale from 1 to 100 for three categories: problem, clarity, originality, and then difficulty. So all what this algorithm or this problem does is to compare the elements in two different sets of arrays. So let's say it takes the first set of array, it takes the first array, it compares the value at the first index to the value at the first index of the second array. So it checks to see if the element at the first index of the first array is greater than that of the element at the first index of the second array. Then the first set of arrays scores a point. So that's what it does. So it checks to see, so if B, which is the second array, the element in that particular index is greater than the element at the same index of the other array, then B gets an extra point. But if both of the values are the same, none of them scores a point. So that's all what the algorithm is about. So there's an example here with a set of A. So A has a set of numbers 1 to 3. B has a set of numbers 3 to 1. So when you take the first index, which is 1 of A, when you compare 1 to 3, which is at the same index 1 of B, you realize that 1 is less than B, or we can say B is greater than 1. So over here, array B scores a point of 1. Now in the second index, you realize that 2 is equal to 2 here. So none of them scores a point, because over here they made a condition that if A of I is equal to B of I, then none of them scores a point. When we check the third element, we realize that 3 is greater than 1. So therefore, A scores an extra point. So over here, the output for this particular array will be 1:1, because B scores a point, A scores a point. 2 and 2 will not give anyone a point, so none of them gets a point. So the output of the array is going to be 1:1. So that is what the problem or the challenge is about. But the outputs are supposed to be between 1 to 100. Yeah, so there's also another sample output here, sample value here we can analyze. Realize that 5 is greater than 3, so array A scores a point. 6 is equal to 6, so array B, none of them scores a point because they are equal. 10 is greater than 7, so array B scores a point. So the sample output is going to be 1:1. So that's how the algorithm is, or that is how the problem is. Now let's head over to the solution space and see how best we can solve this problem. So the first thing we have to do is, since we are asked to return an array of the score points, let's go ahead and then create. So we initialize a variable called score points, and then equate it to initialize the values to 0, 0, in the sense that the first array score points, the second array score points. This is what it's doing. So over here we run a for loop, and this is where our algorithm is going to work. So we'll run our for loop, okay. So here we have three conditions we are supposed to check with. If A of I is greater than B of I, A of I's score point increases. If B of I's score point is greater than A of I, B of I's score point increases, or B's score point increases. But if both of the values are equal, neither of them gets a score point. So we'll go ahead and do this. So if A of I is greater than B of I, then the score point of A of I increases. Else, if B of I is greater than A of I, then the score point of B increases. Else, all what we'll have to do is to return the score point, which is this particular array, to return the score point. Now at the end of the array, we'll go ahead and then return the score point array. Now let's run it to see what we get. Okay, so it worked. So we realized that the values of the sample array was 5, 6, 3, and 3, 5, 6, 7, and 3, 6, 10. So comparing the first elements to the first elements in the second array, realize that 5 is greater than 3. So array 1 scores a point of 1. 6 and 6 are equal, so neither of them gets a point. And then 7 and 10, 10 is greater than 7, so B scores an extra point, therefore giving us an output of 1:1 or 1, 1. So it means each of the arrays gets a score point of 1. Okay, so let's go over again to see what we did. So the name of the function is called compare triplets. But I don't see why it is called triplets though, because it should be more of like twins. Because all we're doing is comparing two different arrays. So I don't know why it's called triplets though, but no problem. So all we had to do is to declare a variable called score points, which will return the array of score points that each array would get, and then we wrote a for loop to loop through that array with 3 different conditions whilst the loop is running. So we check to see if index I, A of index I is greater than B of index I, then the score point of A increases. Else, if B of index I is greater than A of index I, then the score point of A increases. The score point of B increases. Else, we return the array of score points. So that was all we did. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe.